Everybody, welcome to Brunch with the Trojan, not Lunch with the Trojan. Do a little early today. We got USC offensive line coach Tim Drevno. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Drev. Coach, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you doing this.
Well, thanks for having me, Ryan. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, it's these are kind of interesting things to do. We started doing them during the quarantine just because there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. How's the quarantine? I know you're just down the street from me here. How's the quarantine been for you?
It's been good. I mean, I think that I'm very grateful, not for the pandemic, but just my kids being home from college. My oldest daughter just graduated from Miami of Ohio. My son goes to Vanderbilt. So this is probably the first time in the last couple of years where everybody's underneath the same roof. And we've been enjoying a lot of family time and cherishing the moments, but looking forward to getting back to work.
Yeah, it's a new normal for everyone, but that's one of the benefits of it. Like if you're around, you get to be around your family a lot more.
Yeah, and I think that as we go through this, I think that you got to figure out people's strengths and weaknesses. And I got a long honey-do list I've been working on, but still haven't accomplished it yet, Ryan. But we're getting there.
Yeah, do you have is that a quarantine goatee you got going?
No, I've always had this goatee. I maybe kind of trimmed it up a little bit, but always had this goatee.
Yeah,
I like your stash.
I had the quarantine beard going. Like it was pretty nappy though, and I just shaved it yesterday. So I don't usually have like facial hair too much, but now I got the stash just for fun. I don't know, just do something
That's
different.
Good, man.
But I had a lot of gray, so there was a lot of gray here. So it's kind of...
Yeah, well, that happens when you get older. I get a little gray in my hair here. I need a haircut, that's for sure. Wait for these barbershops to open back up.
I think by the end of the week, we might have some in LA County. So there looks like there's some optimism that things are starting to open up a little bit.
Yeah. There is. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, we have, before we jump into things, we have a little bit of breaking news. I'll put it up here. So, I think this was kind of came to, they made these decisions a little while back, but because of the quarantine, they weren't able to announce them. But Chris Claiborne and Pollard are both joining the staff as analysts. Any thoughts on those former Trojans coming back?
I think anytime you bring back Trojans like that with they've been great players here and they know the great history and the tradition here. I always say tradition never graduates. We welcome them aboard and they'll be a big help for us moving forward and helping us win championships here. So I'm excited about them joining.
Yeah, it looks and Claiborne, I believe, is going to be on the offensive side, so he might be helping you guys out.
Yeah, I don't know what Clay's plans are, and be honest with you, that's the first time I've seen that. We'll love this help on the offense if that's the case where Coach Helton wants to put him. Absolutely.
Who are the guys you have right now that are like the analysts working with the offensive line or any kind of assistants that are not like full-time staff?
Vianney Talmovo, is our GA. He's an outstanding coach, a superstar. He's going to be a star in this profession. He does an outstanding job, and I mean everybody helps. Lenny Vandermeid, Seth Daggy, Dane Stevens. Everybody's really all hands on deck and helping each other accomplish our goals. So everybody helps, but Vianney's the main person that works with the offensive line. And we split up all our drills and things, so we maximize our reps, and he's a really good one. Fortunate to have him, and huge in recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about recruiting a little bit. I mean, obviously you can't talk about guys that are unsigned, but you signed a big class in February, December. But overall, like, how would you assess how the offensive line performed in 2019? It was obviously a different offense. How'd you grade them out at the end of the year?
I thought, there's anytime you're a big time program like us, you always want to be able to, you got to beat Iowa, you got to beat Notre Dame in those big games, Oregon. I thought we did well, not good enough for a championship level. I think that we had some young, inexperienced guys in there, but they did a nice job competing every week. I thought that they took instruction really well. It was important to them, and I'm really, really excited about this next year because they're going to be a year older. I mean, first time Jalen McKenzie really started throughout the year. A guy like Brett Nealon, the start of the whole year, except for the injuries. Justin Dees did a good job coming off the bench when Brett got hurt. Elijah Vera Tucker, he wasn't even a known commodity, and he's really developed into a great football player, and they're projecting him to be a first-round draft choice. I mean, Liam Jimmons, he's a guy that's projected to compete at the starting right guard spot right now, and he's a guy that was on defense that came over to offense. So, I mean, it's really good. And then Austin Jackson had a good year to be taken 18th pick overall. So I think we're on task. We're on our way. We need to get better like everybody. But I was pleased with what we did, and when walking into the room, taking over them and taking my instruction, I thought it was a good year. But there's things we need to clean up.
What would you say the biggest difference is teaching offensive line play for a different kind of offense like this air raid, whatever you want to call it, from Graham Harrell? Like, what's the differences in teaching for offensive linemen?
It's not really football's football. It's about blocking and tackling, I always say. But the positives of it is that it's an offense where there's not a lot of playbook. So I always say to Graham, I enjoy like heck coaching this offense because one is you really get to teach technique. I've been in offenses where the playbook has been this thick, and all you're doing is teaching adjustments and things. So it can be, you're not even thinking about the technique. You're thinking about, well, what if they do this? What if they do that? And the other thing I really like about this offense is you get to build relationship with your players and get to know them, because football is a small thing in life. Them as human beings and them graduating from the university and getting married and being fathers and all those are most important things. So I feel like I get a good trust level. I always say that the two most important things a player's got to think about his coach. He's got to like him. He's got to respect him. If he likes him and respects him, he's going to play to the end of the earth. So I really like it. And the simplicity of it is beautiful. And working for Graham is awesome. He lets us do what we want to do up front. And there's things that he wants and we'll do them because he's the boss. But it's been a lot of fun. And the other thing I really like, Ryan, is you get to spend time in recruiting, because sometimes when you're just thinking about all the adjustments, we got a playbook this thick, you don't have time to recruit. So I feel like I'm a better coach and a better person because I'm more available to our players inside the building and being available to the recruits that we're trying to get to know to make the right guys to get into this program. We feel they're going to be difference makers for us, so they have the DNA makeup that we're looking for.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously simpler playbook gives you more time to do other things, like recruiting's a big one.
Yeah.
We had a YouTube question from Anthony. What is the difference in coaching philosophies between Steve Sarkisian and Clay Helton?
Philosophies? Gosh, been a while since I worked for Sark. I think that coaches, both of them are great football coaches. Both of them demand from their team. Both of them, want the best for their staff and their players. I think that everybody has their different coaching styles. That's a hard example to compare somebody against each other, but it's, both of them are good people and great coaches and deserve to be head football coaches at USC.
When you're talking about offensive linemen, are there certain attributes that you covet when you're looking at offensive linemen? And is there a difference recruiting offensive linemen to play in the air raid?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit. I think that you want the guy that's a little bit lighter, foot turnover speed's a little bit better, not a straight ahead guy, be able to have change of direction. He's got good arm length because we do throw the ball just a little bit more than normal. So I think we're looking for the athleticism. We're looking for the guy that has the measurables, the lower body girth, the long arms, the big hands. Those are the things that you're looking for. But overall, you're always looking for that athletic guy that has good initial quickness, good change of direction, and can think quick on his feet. When the screen changes, you want to have a guy that has good football awareness, that he can understand, hey, if they do this, we're going to do that. So those are all the DNA and the skill sets that you look for. And I think it's kind of carries over. Doesn't matter if you're an air raid or a two-back system. But granted, sometimes you might not need the heavier guy in this system because you're not trying to run the two-back power and try to grind a bunch of meat, trying to take time off the clock. You want a guy that's a little bit lighter on his feet, has a little bit more recoverability and things, because a lot of times you are in one-on-one battles because, when you're starting to throw the ball, sometimes you start to get on one-on-ones and be able to move and pass off the twists and things.
You mentioned Austin Jackson earlier. Obviously, pretty high draft pick, 18th overall. There was a range, when they were looking at prospects in the NFL draft. That was pretty much the height, like the top part of his range. Were you surprised he went as high as he did? And were coaches kind of talking to you, like NFL coaches maybe calling you to get some information on him?
Yeah, I think I talked to all 32 teams. I mean, I think that, he's a first rounder. Is there really a difference between 18 and 32 in the first round? Yeah, a little bit with the signing bonus, absolutely. But to be taken the first round, he deserves to be there first round. He's a very talented guy. And he'll be a great asset for the Dolphins. I think that one is he's very smart upstairs. He's got good personal, skill set of be able to communicate and manage his day. He's very mature and he's very athletic. I mean, those are the things that you look for at that level: the recoverability and the initial quickness off the ball, and he'll be able to handle the day-to-day actions in an NFL facility. I mean, there's a lot of people tagging at you, and things. So he'll be able to handle that, and he's mature enough. He'll be able to manage his day.
You guys, unfortunately, only had one spring football practice. There was a lot of anticipation going into, second year of Harrell's offense, all the new defensive staff. Did you kind of have an idea of what you wanted that offensive line, the starters to kind of look like heading into spring football?
Well, I think that, one thing we did do, which everybody saw, we moved Elijah Vera-Tucker out to left tackle. We feel like one is, I thought, he's probably the best fleet-footed guy and most athletic guy, initial quickness that help us win a championship there. I thought two, it would help his draft stock, be able to climb up in the draft ratings. Usually a tackle goes before a guard or center. So I was kind of hoping for both things for him. And I think those guys in there competing, Brett Neal in center, Justin Dees. We're moving Justin Dees with Liam Douglas. Liam Douglas is coming along at the left guard spot. I mean, with Justin Dees could be in there, and then Andrew Vorse is going to come back at some point in time during the spring, and Jim Ayer's in there, and Jalen at right tackle, McKenzie and Jason Rodriguez. So we felt good about the lineup, and I was really excited about getting out there for those 15 practices and try to find out the best 5 guys and then find the 6th, 7th, and 8th guy. But I really like how they attacked going into winter conditioning with AA. I really liked how we met and we went on the field doing on-the-field drills before we started spring ball. And I felt like we're on our way of really having a better year than we did last year. And I was really excited about the development. And I'm looking forward to getting back here this summer with them and taking off.
What do you think spring camp would have done for your position group as far as like developing some chemistry and trying to find out like top 5, top 6, 7, 8 guys?
I think it would have helped. I think it would have helped a lot. It's unfortunate this happened, but I'll tell you a story. When I was first entered the league in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers, they had a CBA lockout. And we went on with the draft and things, but we didn't, we got the job in January after we played the Orange Bowl against Virginia Tech. And we didn't see the players for January, February, March, April, May, June, July. They stepped back in the facility in the end of July, which we did not do any playbook work with them, any on-the-field work with them, and they couldn't even use the facility, weight room at all. And we had one of our better years that year. We finished 14-4. We beat Seattle twice. One time we beat Seattle up in Christmas Eve in Seattle, which that's a tough place to play, which everybody knows. We were down 23-0 against the Philadelphia Eagles at halftime. We came back and won 24-23. We had that epic game against New Orleans in the divisional round, which Vernon Davis to throw over the middle to score the touchdown. Also, Alex Smith running on a toss crack at a quarterback empty toss crack. And then we lost the NFC Championship against with the Giants. So, I look back at this and I go, I've been through this. I've experienced this. And I know our guys will come back in great shape and their mind ready. And I always say the absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes when you're away from each other, they don't hear us. Sometimes there's a newness and it's a good thing. And it's like everybody, sometimes this stuff, you got to be together. You got to be working your drills. You got to be in the playbook. You got to be as a team together, workouts, all that good stuff. But sometimes it's overrated, a little bit. I've been through it. I've lived it. So that's an experience that I've done, and I feel like I'm not real anxious about it at all. We'll get back when we get back, and we're gonna have a great year. I mean, we got a lot of returning guys back, offense, defense. We've got new coaches or plus, big time plus for us. So I'm excited about this opportunity this year with 2020 presents.
I mean, that's a really interesting point because sometimes I feel like, I mean, it's different. Like, I don't golf for a couple months and you come back and you play really well. Like, you just get away from it for a while. And sometimes you kind of need that. Hopefully it's not too long, but maybe it is a way to kind of recharge the guys' batteries that they go all year round.
Yeah, I agree, because I really think, like, my son plays at Vanderbilt and it's a grind for him. I see it. I mean, I see it on his face because we take all this time with them. And sometimes I always tell our guys in our room, they'll line, hey, you got to have a hobby. You have to have something outside of here, just football.
Yeah.
So because when you're outside on a day off, you come back in, you feel fresh. I do the same thing. I got to step away sometimes because I feel like my productivity goes down when I saturate myself 24/7, 365 with football. And I don't really see the importance of life. There's more to life than just football. There's family, there's children, there's hobbies and things. And I feel like it kind of gives you a newness when you walk in every day. And I'm excited about that because of what we're, not that we had to go through this, but us coming back, I think we're going to have a newness. It's going to be great.
What has the contact been with you and the players? That, it's a lot of Zoom calls. Like, how has that been, like, the contact during this quarantine?
It's been good. We meet as an O-line on Tuesdays and Thursdays as a whole group. And then I break up with like 3 or 4 guys and kind of split up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And, we've been talking about technique. I've done some research. I've been doing some clinics with Paul Alexander, a long NFL line coach. I've been clinicking with Mike Schmidt at San Diego State, a line coach there. We brought in all sorts of different people on Friday afternoons just with ourselves and some coaches. So I've been feel like I'm getting better and learning some different techniques and presenting this stuff to them. So I feel like I got some freshness and some newness and some thoughts, and it's been good. I think that the big group meetings are good. I think that we're going through the playbook. We've gone through cut-ups, technique cut-ups, and then the individual meetings I really like a lot because I feel like you got 3 or 4 guys in there and you can really sit down and explain something. Like you take a protection, our 6-man protection, you can go in depth with it. You talk about the adjustments. You feel like you're not going so fast that, because when you're in the heat of the moment and during spring and the fall, sometimes you don't have time to talk about all the particulars. So I think it's been really good. And the other thing, Ryan, I really have got to know these players. I take time and say, I've asked every one of them, why do you play football?
Good question.
And I feel like, yeah, because some guys say, well, I like the team aspects. I love to compete. Some guys might say, hey, I like hanging out with my buddies. I like the attention that gives me. Hey, that's okay. Some guys say, hey, I feel like at the end of this deal, I'll be able to give back to my family and make some money in the NFL. But if I find out exactly how they tick, it makes me a better coach to know why they're doing it. Not everybody's going to say, well, hey, I love football. I mean, yeah, they're going to love football because they're doing it, but I got to find out the reasons why they play it. And I feel like I've grown in that area to get to know them. And it's been fun. I mean, I feel like I have a better connection with these guys. I really do.
I think you need that connection during it gives you an opportunity to. This is a really competitive sport, and when everyone's together, you could have competitions. How do you keep that kind of sense of competition going while everyone's on their own now?
I think the importance of the leadership in our group with Elijah Vera Tucker and Brett Nealon, them monitoring and helping, and then coming from top to bottom, and then keeping guys accountable is huge. A guy like Jalen McKenzie can help. A guy like Liam Jimmons can help. And I think they really like each other and they understand the importance of it. And I think they understand the university they play for and the great tradition, that the importance of winning here and how special it is to be able to play at a place like USC. There's not a lot of places like USC, and I think that I think they understand that, and they understand, how important the offensive line is to win a championship. And I think they put it on their shoulder and they have tremendous ownership. And we got good guys in the room. They really like each other, want to do right.
One of the kind of fun competitions I've seen out there is this cook-off you guys are doing, the big cook-off.
Yeah.
This one's Liam Jimmons versus Jason Rodriguez. I think this was the burger round or something. What have you been involved in that at all? What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I complimented them the other day on Tuesday how, we got against the D line and they just smothered the D line. I was so proud of them competition wise because, when you're a competitor, you want to win at everything that you do. And I've been really excited about them. They really, last night I was watching with my youngest daughter, Bailey, which is a sophomore at Redondo Union High. We're sitting on the couch watching the Instagram account with football, USC football, my wife. And I went and recapped all of them again. And I looked at them and I go, man, these guys put some thought. They were prepared. They were trying to win it. And I was proud of them. I mean, that was great representation of just who they are and what we're about. I was fired up for them. And when I looked at some of that stuff looked good, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
I know, it's like,
did you get the taste
when I told my wife, what's that?
Could they drop some off at your door? Like you can taste some of it?
No, yeah, I wanted to. But I told all the O-line the other day, I said, hey, listen, what we're going to do is when we get out of this quarantine, I'm buying all the meat. We're coming over to my house, and we're going to cook up. I got a Traeger. I got a grill. We're going to cook up, and we're going to have a heck of a time and eat all different burgers, steaks, and have a heck of a time. And then I live about a block to the beach. We'll go down and swim together. It'll be a heck of a day.
Yeah, I see Scott Rodriguez, Jason Rodriguez's father. He's always doing stuff on there.
Yeah.
So he must have prepped Jason pretty well for those competitions.
I think so, too. Yeah, Scott's always I love looking at his tweets about how he's cooking stuff. He's up at 6 a.m. He's got meat coming in from Texas. He's got it. Have you ever had a peanut brittle?
No, I think he was going to give me some at spring football, and then it didn't happen, so I didn't get to try it. But apparently it's awesome.
It's awesome. It's got jalapeno in there. It's got a little bite to it. It's really good. Yeah, that's fun. I like Scott a lot. Good man.
As far as communication goes, that's like one of those underrated things as far as offensive line. It's really important for offensive linemen to be able to communicate. It could be loud, whatever's going on. Is there ways you can kind of work on that during this quarantine when everyone's separated? I mean, I guess communication is key, but how do you kind of work on that?
I think, and just by going through what we do in meetings is when we put up a play, I have them go through, each guy goes through the play and calls out the calls for the whole line. And so you find out what guys need more work at it, what guys are pretty good at it. And I think that's one way you can work on the communication. I'm going to tell you this, Ryan. I think sometimes there's nonverbal communication. I think there's sometimes guys play with each other, and some guys can't talk. I'm just telling you, they can't talk because when they talk, it takes them off of the task at hand and when the screen changes and things. So I think sometimes there's some nonverbal communication actually you have to take reps with during practice to get ready for the game. But there's things you can do off the field in our meeting room by everybody knowing what the play is, what the concept is, and it becoming crystal clear by quizzing people within the room and keeping them accountable.
Yeah. We have another YouTube question. What are your thoughts about wholesale offensive line rotation like some teams do? Take out the first team and put an entire new line. Pro or con, and why?
I think if it works, if it's going to help you win, there's nothing wrong with it. Some guys are good enough to play, and some guys need to get in for a series here or there because they need to continue to keep getting better, and making them feel everybody a part of it is really important. You got to give everybody on the football team a role. So I think it's a good thing if guys are qualified and good enough to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, putting a whole line in, I think it's a little too extreme. But if you rotate a guy here or there, I think it's really good, and give everybody a role. I think it's positive. It's good for the psyche of the team.
It sounds like, speaking of psyche of the team, it sounds like what you guys have been doing with the communication, it's helping. I mean, I think one of the things everyone's worried about the health, and you're trying to catch, not catch the virus, but mental health is a big concern too. Is that something that, knowing you have all these individual players in different situations that you guys have to be aware of as coaches to try to make sure, hey, I want to make sure that the mental health of all my players is in the right, going in the right direction?
No, absolutely. And I think that's the first thing I ask everybody is when I get on there, is everybody healthy in the family? That's the number one thing. And then, sometimes I give them some motivational things every other time I get on there to try to help them through it and tell them there's light at the end of the tunnel. But you got to check their well-being, because some guys, going through this will react differently to it. And I can tell by look of their eyes. And I'm always very conscientious about that, because that's the most important thing, is their well-being. Absolutely.
One of the other things I think when you're coaching and you're in the group of guys, I mean, there's accountability there. Like, they have to be accountable to you. They have to be on time for meetings. They have to do what they need to do in the weight room. Is that harder? And do you have to kind of rely on maybe players being accountable for other players now that everyone's all spread out?
Yeah, I think that, but it goes back to leadership within the room with Elijah Vera Tucker and Brett Neal, and I think those guys check in. And if there's somebody that hasn't been on time to something or what have you, I'm going to address that player, and Brett and Elijah are going to address that player to keep them accountable and saying, hey, that's not right. And I think that's something that we've kept the accountability strong within the group. The importance of doing things right all the time.
Yeah. You guys are a big group of guys. I mean, obviously they're offensive linemen. They're the big guys. I talked to Aaron Osmus in the beginning of the quarantine, and he was talking about every player is going to have a different situation as far as off-season, these workouts go. Is it harder if you have someone that's an offensive lineman that really can only be doing body weight workout versus one offensive lineman that might have a full gym in their garage?
I don't. You'd like to have a full gym, but at the end of the day, if they're doing the workouts, they're doing body weight or they're doing with regular weights, I think that's good enough. They're trying to do the best through the situation. And I to be quite honest with you, I don't know any scientific things that really tell you the difference between one or the other. I think that you got to leave that up to the experts. I couldn't tell you. But I think knowing mentally, there's so much is a mental side of this game. If they know they're trying to do something to get the job done and get themselves better, I think that's pretty good. That's good enough. I think in their mind, they'll feel good about themselves.
Yeah. It's funny talking to Aaron Osmus in the beginning. He was just sort of like, body weight. He was just like not really into it. He's like, no, I want to go push a car. Like, let's go have him push a car instead. So, offensive linemen can do that. They can.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I do some body weight stuff with my kids in the garage on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I just started getting into it. Some of that body weight stuff's pretty darn hard.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Graham Harrell. He does a lot of body weight. He looks pretty darn good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
JDB and Seth and those guys. They're experts in it. I see them down in the weight room at SC. They're doing a bunch of body weights working for them. So I think it'd work for anybody.
Yeah. It's funny. Time is passing. Like it's almost June. We keep getting it's actually getting closer. If we assume there's going to be a college football season, you guys open with Alabama on the neutral site. Is that something that kind of gets the offensive lineman's attention? Is that something you can kind of hone people in? Like, hey, the next time you take the field in a competitive situation, it's going to be against Alabama. Like, is that something you can kind of use as motivation this offseason?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that there's times that I've turned on Alabama tape and we've watched Alabama on defense. And we talked about through their strengths and weaknesses and things, how we want to attack it. And I'm working on a game plan, run game of pass protection against Alabama. So I think that I try to remind them it's right around the corner. And I said to them, the biggest thing for them is when we do get the call and we're ready to come back, you got to be in the best shape of your life. Like we're ready to play. And you can't wait for tomorrow. You got to do it today. And I think they understand the importance of it. I think that it's like, once you're called on, you got to get ready to go. And they've done a great job this whole quarantine time of really working out and doing getting themselves in good shape and standing out amongst their peers. So they're doing good.
You mentioned Elijah Vera Tucker a couple of times. I'll put up a picture of him here. What were the reasons that you were confident that he could have the same level of play? Because he played really well at guard, but what gave you the confidence that he was going to have that same level of play at tackle?
He's got really unbelievable twitchiness to him, very quick with his hands, good foot turnover speed. And I put him out there a few times in practice during the season just in case something happened to Austin Jackson. When he went out there, I was like, wow. When you turn on the tape and watch him at left tackle, he stands out. He jumps off the film. It's like he's got some initial quickness, his foot turnover speed. He's got real good recovery ability. He sets anchor well when he's getting knocked back like a bull rush, and some things that you just don't teach. He just naturally does it. And I felt like at that position, the left tackle spot, and it's got to be your best guy. Got to be your best guy.
Well, is there any hesitation when he does so well at left guard? And I think Pro Football Focus has had him one of the highest rated guards in the country or whatever. And then you want to move him. Even though you feel like you can do that, is there any hesitation knowing like, wow, but he really does well at left guard?
Yeah, I think in the back of your mind you go, okay, I know going into spring ball, if we had spring, that you could kind of mess with the lineup and see what's best, and we'll do the same thing going into training camp. But, moving forward, the last picture I saw was the first day of spring. So I see that in my mind, and I've seen him what he's done there before. So, yeah, there's a little hesitation because you don't want, you got something, kind of got some mojo going. You're mixing up. Can I find a replacement left tackle? But I think that's why you have practices to try to figure that out, what's best,
Yeah.
But just on paper and talking through with the staff, with Graham and with Coach Helton and things, we just thought maybe that would be the best fit for now, and then we'll adjust as we go, and so that's the thing with practice. You try to put guys in there and see how they respond and see who the best guys are.
For anyone moving inside to out, what's the biggest challenge? And in general, what does a guard have to focus on in an offseason if they're going to make that transition to tackle?
I think the biggest thing he's got to focus on just his pass set, because at the tackle position coming from guard, I refer to as a sideboard. When I mean by a sideboard, that if I'm a center and I'm a guard, usually the center's with you, or I'm working with a guard, working with a tackle. So more higher percentage, you got somebody that's with you trying to help you. At the tackle, you're really by yourself. You're on an island. It's one-on-one. And remember now, it's when the guy's pass rushing, he's off your body, he has more space. So you got to be able to move your feet better and have better recoverability because there's more space to play with as that guy rushes. As you play inside, the guy's kind of an arm length away. I can kind of grab him and punch him. So it's you got to have good spatial awareness, I would say. That's the biggest key, is know when to punch and how to punch, and making sure that you're staying square as long as possible. Because when a guy gets off your body really wide at the left tackle spot coming from guard, you're not used to that. You have a tendency to turn. And I've always said to a tackle, he always asks me, well, Coach, when do I turn? I mean, that's the number one. When do I turn? Because, the centers and guards are responsible for the depth of the pocket. The tackles are responsible for the width of the pocket. So you're trying to widen. So there are wider rushers trying to widen them. So you just got to have a good technique to do that.
Yeah, you guys, the tackle spot's important. Obviously, you lose Austin Jackson and Drew Richmond, who came in and seemed like he played pretty well last year, coming in as a grad transfer.
Yeah.
A guy like, I'm sorry, go ahead if you have thoughts.
No, I think Drew did a great job. I was thankful that we had him. I mean, I think it was complimented us very well, and he had a big part of our success.
Yeah. But could a guy like Jason Rodriguez, who we mentioned, I'll put a picture of him up there, coming in, changing his body a little bit. What does he need to do to be able to contribute and get in the mix there?
Jason has really good recoverability, good change of direction. He's got a really good feel. We just need to groove his kick. What I mean by that, just his pass set out in the edge, and get some better body control and some core strength, which will come with some training and things. And I think he needs time at task. The task of doing it, time to task of just doing it over and over and repeating it, reps and those kinds of things. I think he's gonna dwell there and do a great job. We just need a few more reps with him there, a couple more practices, and see exactly where he is. Exactly where he is.
Do you think there's any linemen that haven't really played much that you think are like real viable candidates to potentially start this year?
I look at a guy like Justin Dees. He came off the bench for Brett Nealon. A guy like Liam Douglas could be a guy. He's really coming in his own. He's changed his body. It's important to him. He spends time at it. A guy like Jason Rodriguez could step in there. I think all those guys have a chance to be starters, and we just need to continue on with them, as we go into training camp. But all of them have the want to, the athletic ability, to be those types of players. So I'm excited about them. I really am. They've developed nicely.
We got a couple questions from some of the fans, if that's okay. We'll let you go. I don't want to keep you too long. We had one from YouTube from Matt. What characteristics do you look for in a potential offensive lineman recruit? And Down with Disease on the Peristyle wanted to know, what physical characteristics do you look at for tackles, guards, and centers? So maybe kind of lump all that together.
Yeah, I'd lump it up. Yeah, just character. One is I want to make sure, when you talk to a guy, there's kind of a two-part. You got a skill set of a guy that's got, athletic, good foot turnover speed, good knee bend, ankle flexion, change of direction. And then there's a mental aptitude side of it where a guy can look at you dead straight in the eye. He can follow instructions. If you tell him to call you at this time, he calls you. You do a lot of research behind the scenes, see what their DNA makeup is. At school, you don't want a guy that's been tardy a lot. That means he can't be on time. He's got other things of distraction. You want to learn who their mom and dad are, how they treat their mom and dad in the home. Those are the kinds of things. And the bottom line, just looking at all 5 positions, I mean, you want guys that, that can think quicker on their feet, the mental side of it, good initial quickness come out the ball, can play with power and strength, change of direction, athleticism. Those are the guys you turn on the film, you look at it and you go, wow, man, this guy moves pretty darn well. This is a guy that you want. And I love 2-sport guys. I love guys that play hoops. I love guys that are wrestlers. I like that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of guys do that nowadays, but I just see, like, you can see a guy's athleticism, especially on the basketball floor.
Yeah.
The guy can change the direction. You want to see, a guy like, a guy that's 6'5" going up and slam dunk. This guy's got some hops. He's explosive, And the other thing I think is really, really important is I'm not much into 40 times, but I think as a guy, if a guy's under a 5'2", 40 and below, that shows some athleticism. I'll take a 5'3". He might be a bigger body guy, but I get kind of turned off with guys that are in the 6s, the 7, 5'7s. You're like, I don't know, because I think there's a correlation of some athleticism that goes into a 40 time, I believe. Yeah. And I don't think an offensive line is not going to run 40 yards, but there's some correlation that you look for, some skill sets you look for in athleticism that way.
What about like track, like discus and shot put stuff? I haven't seen too much of that lately, but that was a big thing before for some guys.
Yeah, I think that you throw a guy that throws a shot or discus and there's some explosiveness, but then you get guys that don't throw it very far, but a lot of it's a skill set and maybe they've picked it up for 1 year. Like, I really can't make an evaluation. I do sometimes hear some shot put, and I'm like, the distance, I'm like, I don't know about that. It kind of makes me, you can make yourself think over and over, but the bottom line is the film is not going to lie. You're going to turn the film on, you see the kid play at a high level. You like the skill set that he has. You sit down and talk with him personally. You get to know him and see if he's a fit for our room. See if it's a fit for the university and our football team, and he brings the mental aptitude and the toughness and the maturity that you're looking for. Because I tell you what, like I tell these guys, you go to school all day. At some point in time, you got to take 20 minutes out and come sit with me on your own, voluntary, and look at some tape. You got to sit in a meeting. You got to go out to practice. You got to get treatment. Then you got to start it all over again. And some guys, it's too much for them. They can't, there's a grind there's a grind to this college football that you want to get the right guy in there that can handle the grind. And he's got a maturity level that he's not going to get distracted because a girl just said something to him over in the middle of campus, or he just, he's struggling in a class. He's missing tutoring. Those are the guys. That's not good business. You want the guy that's, that can focus on the task at hand. Those are the guys I want.
Makes sense. SCPA 5 from the Peristyle wanted me to ask you about the players you signed last year. Where you think some of those guys are going to end up playing?
I think all 6 guys, and what's interesting is I got them to send some video in because they've been doing some of the drills. I've been meeting with them once a week, and all the guys, I'm so impressed with them. They got really good athleticism, really good foot turnover speed, initial quick, and they got knee bend. So I've been impressed with all 6 guys. As we move forward here, I have some ideas. Some guys might be tackles, guards. I'm just not ready yet to say exactly. I need to sit down with Graham and Coach Helton and kind of map my way through that and see exactly where the best places are for them to compete. Some guys might need a year. They might need to be in hibernation, incubator a little bit to develop. Some guys might need to play now. So as we develop and get them on campus and watch them work out and get them out there running around, I'll have a better understanding where exactly they do fit.
And one last
Got to see them live.
Got to see them live, yeah. One last one from Gunham on the Peristyle. He wanted me to ask you about the run game, what you look forward to improving on, given there were some struggles against the finale against Iowa.
Yeah, I just think one is we need to have healthy backs. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And And I think we just need to keep getting better at it and keep improving on it and get in some situations we got behind the 8 ball and you got to throw the ball. You got whatever's working that game, whatever's going to give you the best chance to win, you got to do. And I think that we're going to be just fine. And I think there's some stuff that Graham and I have been talking about here this time off and stuff that it helped to improve the run game. Some different schemes we might do with some auxiliary runs. And I'm excited about getting all our backs back healthy and not feel like each one of them have to take the whole brunt of it on their shoulders, because all of them bring unbelievable talent to the table, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, one of the people ask me about that sometimes with the run game,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm like, no, I mean, the offense, in my opinion, it seems when you talk to you guys, it was meant to be more of a 60-40 or something like that, 55-45. You get your quarterback hurt in the first game, you lose all 3 running backs at one time. That if you saw a full season of everyone healthy, you probably would have seen a more consistent running game. That's my assessment. I don't know if you feel it the same way or.
No, I think so too. I mean, we throw the ball, and that's okay. That's something this part of the system does, and Graham believes in it. It's been successful. I mean, I look back where we were in 2018, the stats, NCAA, to look at where we're in 19. You see how the big improvement. We're going in the right direction. I think maybe we need to have a little bit more explosive runs, maybe a situation where we gain 20 or 25 more yards on the ground that help our improvement a little bit. And you got to always take this RPO game, the run pass option. Sometimes the run's called, but the throw's been thrown out, and it's supposed to be handed off. So, and that's all good. I mean, we're moving. The change is the most important thing. And I don't think we need to get impatient with it. I just think we need to have an understanding of it. This isn't a 2-back system of old at USC. This is not a West Coast system. This isn't grind them and bleed them out. This isn't, get as many people on the field and throw the ball as deep as possible with run actions. This is a proven system. It's had tremendous success. It fits our personnel very well. And I just feel like at times people get really upset because they want to see more yards. Hey, at the end of the day, if you got one more point than they do, we've done our job.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And I think that's okay. Yeah. I mean, as a line coach, do I want to run the ball more? Heck yeah, I do. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, but hey, whatever Graham calls, we do. And I know this, every player in that room and the offensive line is excited that we're in this system and respect the heck out of Graham, what he does and our offensive staff. And I just know that there's a lot of excitement going into this season, and we've done a heck of a job recruiting here, and there's some great players in the room, and we got some great momentum going into 2020. I'm excited to see this thing unleash.
All right. Coach Tim Drevno, USC offensive line coach. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Drev. Really appreciate you spending some time. Get back looking at some of those pictures of your offensive linemen cooking up stuff. That always makes my mouth water watching those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. And I appreciate it, Ryan. This is the first time I really sat down and visited with you. I enjoyed talking to you.
This was great. Another South Bay. It's funny. We're like a mile away right now, but you have to do it this way. So yeah. Well, hopefully when this comes out, maybe we'll have you come in the studio and we'll chat about
stuff.
Love
to do that. Cool. Love to do that. I appreciate you guys. Love your support. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Coach Drevno. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.
Fight on, baby. Here comes those Trojans.